Transportation Department says that the privatization of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport could happen by the first quarter of 2024.
The Transportation Department says its proposal to privatize NAIA will serve as, quote, baseline for investments in the airport.
So, itong proposal nito, wala naman tayong binibentang pag-aari ng gobyerno. Magbibigay lang tayo ng concession dun sa publiko na gustong mag-participate sa bid. Ang magiging karapatan nila is to operate and manage and invest to rehabilitate the Manila Airport Complex.
Samantala, nagbabadyang tumaas ang terminal fee na sinisingil sa mga pasahero kasabay ng privatization ng Ninoy Aquino International Airport sa susunod na taon. Masyado pa nga raw mababa ang 550 pesos terminal fee sa NAIA kung ikukumpara sa ibang airport.
We really want to maintain as low as possible a realistic level naman yung passenger service charge that would make it workable for a facility to make its investments and improvements.
The Transportation Department sees the privatization of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport by next year. But how will this be done? What happens to airport assets, and how will divisions of functions be between government and private concessionaires? Will the state remain as a regulator? The answer is tonight on The Chiefs. Welcome to this edition of The Chiefs. I'm Edwin Gao. With me tonight in the studio, Robbie Lampayo of One News, and of course, Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5. Chiefs, magandang gabi.
Evening.
Okay, transportation tayo ngayon. Ang dami niyatang kwento
Nga, bago pa nag-umpisa eh.
Oo nga eh.
Ang dami ko nang pwedeng sabihin dyan eh.
Naku.
Actually, timing na tayo eh.
Oo.
Hindi kasi nakailang travel na rin tayo, di ba, this year. And parang,
Medyo
I had expected kahit pa paano, di ba,
some hiccups.
Yes.
Some hiccups.
pero hindi ganitong kalala, hindi lang siya hiccup eh.
Hindi, tsaka the other thing kasi it's glaring. Di ba? When you leave here, then you land at whatever your destination is. Mako-compare mo
Oh, yeah.
agad.
Yeah.
Or
Pagkatapos
when
yung
you're
pabalik,
coming from
it is a rude awakening na, oo nga wala, we're still not quite there.
Oh. Kung minsan tuloy, hindi ko nga alam yung feeling mo na parang ganito, parang nahihiya ba ako dun sa katabi ko foreigner na nakakilala?
Ako,
Or-
I am.
Oh, di ba? Or at the same time, naiinis ako sa sarili ko dahil nahihiya ako for the foreigner. Hindi ko alam yung dissonance.
Sabi mo lang, I'm Singaporean la.
But also a lot of things are, seems, how shall we say, incongruent, di ba? Para for example, meron ka ng, may dissonance, di ba? Meron ka ng e-travel,
Yeah.
di ba? So medyo high-tech na, may QR code ka na. And then, yung passport mo, readable na. And may e-gates na. So you're expecting kahit pa paano. But,
Dumadali dapat, di ba?
but you get the sense that actually, para sa yung e-travel ko, when I get to the e-gate, I have to scan my passport.
Right.
And my boarding pass.
Right.
Pabalik na lang ako.
Parang doble-doble pa rin yung mga dokumentong ini-expect, no?
Malay mo, it's birthing pains. Oh.
Tagal na
Hindi,
rin
tagal na
yung
ng
e-gate.
e-gate, ha? Ang tagal na ng
Tagal na ng
e-gate.
e-gate, di yung bago
Before
eh.
if I'm not
Pero
mistaken, before the
madalas
pandemic.
siyang down. Madalas siyang down. Tapos meron din nagbabantay doon na nagpapabagal din ang proseso, di ba? Yung parang e-gate lang. Pero, tapos pag may nakita kang syempre medyo senior, di ba? Tapos hindi, alam mo na medyo computer illiterate, katulad ko. Parang, tapos sabi pressure kasi ang haba pa ng pila sa likod, di ba? Parang, paano ba to? Paano ba to? Tapos titingnan mo pa muna yung monitor, ganon. Tapos yung boarding pass din, ay, ganito. Ang
And
hirap.
this is just the immigration part, di ba?
Oo,
Siyempre,
yeah.
marami pa rin gulo, even for people checking in.
Right, yeah.
Yung baggage,
And-
mahiwaga sa akin yung baggage.
Isa pa yun,
Bakit
carousel.
baggage?
The
Bakit parating
carousel
mabagal?
is
Ako yun lang
forever.
basic ang tanong.
Hindi
Bakit
ko
parating
alam.
mabagal?
Oh my. It takes an hour to me, average.
Parang sinasadya ka parati, no?
Ay,
Parang ba't ikaw parati ang huli?
Oo, tapos sasabihin nila, kasi hindi ka business class eh. Sorry po. Sorry na po.
Baka kasi maga ka nag-check-in.
Ewan ko.
Nandun ka sa looban ng
Maraming
ng
mga
aeroplano.
expert, kung sino-sino ng expert nagsasabi, hindi kasi nauna ka siguro nag-check-in. No? Alam mo, parang US
First
visa lang.
in, last
Parang
out.
US visa lang yun. Pagka na-reject ka, ang daming expert na nagsasabi, kasi ganito siguro. At the end of the day, ewan ko, luck of the draw lang yan. Or, there must be something wrong. I don't know.
There is something wrong. Come on. That's the reason why they're now proposing to privatize. So,
Pero
let's
yun,
talk about that.
even that process for privatization, because this is not the first time we've heard about.
Teka, delikado itong dalawa. Baka kung ano pa masabi.
Not a short formula for
Magsama na lang tayo ng guest na alam niya
Oh, yun.
pinagsasabi niya. Kaysa yung kung ano-ano pinagsasabi mo na wala ka naman sagot.
Okay, we'll bring in our guest for tonight right after this break. The Cheese will be right back.
Joining us in this discussion tonight, Department of Transportation spokesperson Joni Gasmundo, who is also the Executive Assistant to Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me here.
Salamat po sa dating niyo dahil kami ni Luchi pareho naman kaming walang ambag kung ano-ano pinagsabi namin dito. At least ngayon alam masasagot niyo talaga yung mga gusto ring tanungin ng mga kababayan natin. Unang-una po ito sa usapin ng privatization ng NAIA. Proposal po ba to or may decision na?
Ganito yan, Robby, no? Last Friday ay nagsubmit ang DOTR at ang MIA, Manila International Airport Authority, nung proposal to privatize ang NAIA. And para sa amin that is the point of no return. Ito seryoso na. So we are seeking the approval of NEDA para matuloy namin yung initiative na namin na ma-privatize ang NAIA using the PPP scheme. And may mga initial ng ano ron. What we are asking from NEDA is to give us the approval to proceed. And pagkatapos pa lang nun, at saka pa kami mag-open, the proposal will be published in newspapers to invite kung sino ang gustong mag-operate and manage ng NAIA. The emphasis here is this is not a sale. We are not selling the airport. This is we are looking for a concessionaire to operate and manage the airport and upgrade the airport. So we have very clear examples ng mga successful privatization of airport, including itong Clark at saka itong Mactan Cebu Airport. Both are currently managed and operated by private companies. So that is where we are going to make it as efficient tulad ng Clark at ng Cebu.
Before we get into those details on what will this look like and what will this mean, not just for the airport but for all of us people using the airports, dun lang po sa nabanggit nyo, may proposal sa NEDA muna, no? And the proposal is to pass through the PPP protocol systems, procedure, what have you. But dun lang po sa dalawang yon, and ultimately, what does that mean? Kailan po dadaan sa NEDA and how long before we get to that bidding process?
Okay, so kanina si Undersecretary Bobby Lim of Aviation just said there will be a meeting with NEDA next week. Mukhang mabilis silang sumagot and i-discuss na ng NEDA whether the whole project is approved o may mga questions pa sila. What we are seeking is the final go-ahead to proceed with the project of NAIA privatization.
Sir, so we are not looking at infrastructure privatization, only operations. Tama po ba?
Ganito yan, ano? The concessionaire, we are looking at a concessionaire who will invest at the airport. So when we look at bidders, we will not just look at their technical capability. Kaya ba nila? Meron ba silang expertise? Meron ba silang knowledge on how to operate an airport? The second is the financial capability because they will have to invest on the airport improvements, upgrade, modernization. Maraming mga small things na na pwede nating tingnan na bibigyan the private concessionaire will have to invest. For example, kunyari ay improve yung control tower. Si Yusek Bobby Lim was saying dahil doon sa nag-benchmark si Secretary Bautista sa Gatwick Airport, actually operating the airport can be managed from a laptop or from a desktop computer. Ganun bang klaseng high-end technology kung magagamit natin dito, we will be able to increase the aircraft movement, yung number of takeoff and landing in 1 hour. Bigyan ko na lang kayo ng example. Ang ating NAIA ay merong aircraft movement na 40 to 41. Pero yung nakita nila sa Gatwick Airport sa London, they are operating at 55 movements per hour. Efficient sila. So sabi nga ni Secretary, that will be our benchmark kung gaano kaganda ang operation ng Gatwick, kung kaya nating gayahin dito sa NAIA. So meron kaming mga ibang mga tiningnan, benchmarking with Singapore, with Hong Kong Airport, etc. So we are towards the direction na gusto ni Secretary Bautista. We level up to global standards.
So in short, Mr. Gesmundo, syempre, to the ordinary viewer, what they really just want to know is, will this privatization make sure that the chaos that occurred, halimbawa, noong January 1, hindi na yung mangyayari, no? So, pati yung operations ng CAAP ba, for example, pati ba yun kasama sa privatization? Yan muna. And then, pangalawa, of course, yung nangyayari ngayon sa immigration, whether arrival or departure, yan po ba? Kasama rin po ba yan? Hindi ho ba gobyerno magpapatakbo niyan? Siyempre, immigration. So, in other words, ano po ang sakop? What is the extent of management of operations by this private company when they take over?
Okay, Lucy, magbigay lang ako ng perspective. Okay, the airport is currently operated and managed today by the Manila International Airport Authority, which is under the Department of Transportation. Ngayon, ibang ahensya ang CAAP, ibang ahensya ang Bureau of Immigration, both of whom ay, they have a part in the operations of NAIA. So kung kunyaring tayo ay makakuha ng isang private company to operate and manage the NAIA, they will still have to coordinate with different government agencies na involved dyan, including immigration, customs, quarantine, etc. Ganon.
So anong i-build nila? I mean, what kind of, are you saying, for example, right now, let's talk about immigration. Lagi pong punong-punong-puno yan, lalo na pag nagkasabay-sabay ang mga trips coming in or going out, no? And everybody who has traveled will know this, that you have to give yourself at least an hour after check-in to be able to get to your gate. That's at least, no? And you're not even sure whether you can make it because it depends on the crowd at immigration. So, for example, yan po, ano pong leeway dyan ng private company that's coming in order to change the system so that we go through immigration hassle-free as much as possible. Probably in most airports like Hong Kong, 15 minutes stops.
Yeah, Luchi, tama yung ano mo. That is the right question actually. So we hope pagka binigay namin sa kanila yung mga bidders who want to operate the airport, we will give them the terms of reference. This is the scope of what you can do. And what we intend to present to them is that yun nga, address these concerns, make the terminals passenger friendly, make them make the operations efficient. That is actually what triggered itong para ituloy na namin yung mga suggestions to privatize na iya.
Pero hindi po ba yun nalilimit ng infra? Halimbawa, if there's only so much space, really, there's only so much you can do. For example, there are only, 5 carousels in that small space? Compare that with 20 in most modern airports outside of the country. I mean, what can you really do even if you come in with all good intentions if the space only allows for 5 carousels? How can you, diba, facilitate or expedite the delivery of luggage?
Sir, idagdag ko na rin, for example, you have 2 intersecting runways lamang in NAIA.
Yeah.
That also limits the number of flights that you can have per hour. Siyempre, hindi pwede magsasalubong.
Right.
Okay, unahin ko muna si Luchi.
Yes, sir.
Okay, part of what we want the concessionaire to be able to do, pagka pumasok na yung mga bidders, they will be given time for due diligence. So titingnan nila lahat ng kasulok-sulukan ng airport. Then they will be able to present their recommendations. Ito ang balak namin ngayon, palakihin ng terminal, dagdagan ng baggage carousels, dagdagan ng mga escalators, etc. So doon ngayon magkakatalo, gaano kaganda ang mga proposals ninyo kung paano papagandahin, i-upgrade itong mga facilities ng airport. Meron isang binabanggit si Yusek Babilib. Meron isang system sa Gatwick na hindi pa nagagamit dito sa NAIA. Yun bang automatic yung pag-park ng isang eroplano to the gates using mga sensors. Ngayon ang gamit natin manual, na alam niyo ba yun yung air marshal na makaway ng ilaw na puno.
Tinotow.
So yes.
Aeroplano.
Yeah, in other highly modern airports, yan ay
Yes, sir.
Hindi pa nagagamit yan. So that is one of the things that dapat yung concessionaire will invest in, that kind of system. At marami, magre-recommend sila, gusto namin palakihin itong terminal, itong 4 na terminal. Okay, going to the second question, dahil dalawa lang ang intersecting runway. Yun nga yung sinabi namin na they saw Gatwick Airport in London as very similar dito sa ating NAIA, 2 runways. But how come ang mas madaming aircraft movement nila? And the answer was technology. Nawala tayo. Na sana ay yung mga concessionaire na papasok will be able to identify and use the appropriate technology para kasing ganda tayo ng ganong airport tulad ng Gatwick.
Pero yung Gatwick po, hindi ho ba parallel ang mga runways doon? Kasi that's a big difference. Yung sa atin po, intersecting. That's the reason why airplanes have to wait their turn before they can land or take off. But if
Hindi
they're
pwede
2
magsabay.
parallels, pwede silang magsabay. Hindi ho ba yun ang major difference and the major, anong tawag doon, block to any kind of improvement runway-wise?
Actually, the way I see it, Lucy, it is not whether intersecting or parallel. In the thinking natin, kung paano natin mapapalawak, mapapahaba, mapapadami ang runways. Actually, intersecting ay pwede naman yan. It's not the positioning of the runways. Kung paano mo ma-maximize yung pag-landing, yung pag-take off simultaneous into intersecting. Nandun yan sa mga experts on airport operations kung paano nila magagawa yan. Pero I think you will agree with me, tama nga eh, the whole NAIA has become congested because of structural limitations. Hanggang doon din talaga ang ating airport. Kahit pa magdagdag tayo ng 10-5 terminals, hanggang ganun lang talaga yung haba at yung dalawang runways na yon. Which is why, kung i-upgrade, i-modernize natin, ipagandahin natin yung operations, i-level up natin, gamit tayo ng technology, humanap tayo ng mga experts from abroad. Idagdag ko lang, yung pagpili namin ng mag-ooperate ng NAIA ay kausap ni Secretary Bautista ang Asian Development Bank. Meron na kaming nilagdaang agreement. Tutulungan kami ng ADB na pumili noong very qualified na concessionaire. Sila ang bubusisi. Sila ang magsasabi, ito ang magandang gawin natin dyan sa airport. At ito naman yung mga hahanapin natin doon sa mga gustong magpaandar niyang airport niya.
Mr. Gismundo,
Yes.
sorry, pasensya na po. Ibabalik ko rin doon sa tanong na yun, yung hinahanap natin, yung gugustuhin mag-operate sa airport na to. As you said, this proposal that was submitted to NEDA is in effect, you said, I mean, this is your initiative, this is your proposal, and this is now the process. What does that do to the unsolicited proposal of the conglomerate that was formed ahead of this announcement? Does this essentially overtake that, and basically the message to them is, no, we are following this path, and then doon na lang kayo magbibid? What are the implications of this for the unsolicited proposal of this consortium?
Yeah, again, it's a very good question. Kanina, sinagot din yan ni Undersecretary Roberto Lim. Okay, what we did with NEDA is this will now be the solicited proposals. So we will solicit bids from concessionaires. What happened earlier is merong sinabmit na unsolicited proposal, what they called a super consortium, which consists of 5 conglomerates plus 1 US-based aviation company. So ang tinitingnan ni Yusek Lim is parallel to. There is one option na it's just an option. Kasi currently, I think it's ongoing yung tinitingnan na ng DOTR yung unsolicited proposals. But ibabangga yan kasi with other solicited proposals kung alin ang maganda. So it's parallel, ongoing dalawa.
So kumbaga parang Swiss bid po na
Swiss
you
bid,
treat
yes.
the first bid, and then this new solicited is the Swiss challenge to the unsolicited proposal.
I would not look it that way kasi sinabi ni Undersecretary Babik, mas mabilis kung we will go the way of the solicited proposal. What if nga, ang sinasabi tayo, what if pag inopen na ang bidding, what if isama itong unsolicited bid na to among the among the bidders for the solicited proposal? It is a possibility. Pero right now nga, tinitingnan pa rin ng DOTR what are the good points in this unsolicited proposal. Hindi pa namin alam, baka may mga magagandang points na proposals, recommendations na maibibigay yung mga for the solicited proposals pag nag-open na after we publish it in the papers and invite bidders.
Sir, a while ago you made mention of investments by whoever concessionaire is chosen. To what degree of revisions or changes would you allow dun sa infrastructure ng NAIA? For example, can they tear down the entire structure and build a new one, or can they just modify bit by bit?
Ganito yan. At this point in time, hindi pa namin masasagot yung tanong na yan because, again, we are at the point na hinihintay namin ang sagot ng NEDA. After we get the approval of NEDA, after they have looked into the details of what we want to do, may lalabas na terms of preference, detailed terms of preference. Ito ang gusto naming mangyari. That is what we are telling the bidders. Pero yung mga details nun, pwede pa rin naman yung pag-usapan with the bidders. For instance, we have chosen a bidder na conforms with all the pero may mas maganda pa silang ilalagay, then we will consider that. Pero yung totally iibain na yung lahat ng mga terminals, I don't think at this point we can answer that.
What about on the side of passengers po? Will this mean higher terminal fees, higher whatever fees for maintenance, and so on and so forth? Ano po kaya ang pwedeng asahan o pangambahan ng mga pasahero?
Okay, i-offer ko na there is the second consideration of naglalabas ng apprehension, anxiety ang mga current workers of the airport. I don't think there will be any dislocation of employees.
Okay.
As to increase in fees na sinisingil sa airport, ganito yan. Under a concession, whether it's an airport or a railway or what, titingnan, merong parang ibibigay ang concessionaire sa government. In this case, it is PIA. But the concessionaire will need revenues para sa operations, para dun sa kanilang papagandahing infrastructure. So, hindi namin masasabi if that will be sufficient or enough, kaya kailangan taasan yung terminal fee. It will now be determined by the concessionaire. But ang setup naman nito is that the concessionaire will not be given full liberty para gawin ang lahat ng gusto nilang gawin.
Yes, sir.
There will be the oversight function. Like in NAIA, it is the Manila International Airport Authority. MIA, there is oversight done at Clark by the Clark International Airport Corporation. Ganon. So when an airport is privatized, you are not given 100% pwede mong gawin ang lahat ng gusto mong gawin. So titingnan pa rin ng mga ahensya kung it is detrimental to the public, to the passengers. Kaya kapag may say pa rin ang government kung itutuloy nila yung any increases, let's say, in terminal fees.
Okay, we're speaking with DOTR spokesperson Johnny Gesmundo. We will still be speaking with him. We just need to take a quick break. Please join us as we come back on Chiefs.
Welcome back to the Chiefs. We continue our conversation with Johnny Gesmundo, who is the Executive Assistant to Transport Secretary Jaime Bautista. Mr. Gesmundo, we were talking about fees earlier, no? Now we're going to talk about revenues for the government with a privatization, if it pushes through, which it probably will, no? Paano po ang margins naman for the government when it does privatize? And how will the hikes, I'm sure, in service fees be managed? Do you have any visibility, at least, on these things even now?
Ganito, Luchi, what was presented to NEDA is that DOTR is willing to give the concession for 15 years. Okay? So the concessionaire will have 15 years to operate, manage the airport, and then dapat ibalik ng concessionaire to government. Okay, looking at that number of years for ROI, doon pa lang magkakaroon ng usapan kung magkano ang magiging share ng government at ang maiiwan doon sa concessionaire. Kaya pag-uusapan pa yan with the bidders pagka nilabas na in terms of reference, pagkatapos sasagot ngayon yung mga bidders, ganito ang kaya naming bigay sa government. So that sharing is still up for negotiation pagka tiningnan na ng concessionaires, nag-due diligence na sila, kailangan nating maggastos ng ganito for the systems, for the infrastructure, etc. Ganito ang aabutin ng gastos natin. Then how do we recover that in 15 years? At saka palang lalabas na yung up to ganitong percent ang kaya namin ibigay sa government. Ganun ang magiging proseso.
Mr. Gismundo, what does this proposal signal, if any, with regard to other airport projects that are being proposed and considered, particularly sa Bulacan, Cavite is also being touted. I mean, anong implication nito dun sa mga proposals sa ibang airports?
Currently, we are in the middle of this privatization initiative using PPP. So nagawa na ang Cebu at ang Clark. Ang Bulacan Airport, the concession has already been given to San Miguel Corporation. Next in the pipeline are 9 other regional airports dito throughout the country na we are looking for private investors. Ibigay ko na lang sa inyo yung top 3 na yun ang priority. There is this Bicol International Airport, Bohol Panglao International Airport, and the Lagandingan Airport in Cagayan de Oro. These are ang priority na i-offer namin for privatization using the same formula. Dadaan sa NEDA, tapos i-open namin for bidding, titingnan namin kung ano ang magandang arrangement. So, marami pang ibang mga airports after, even before makonclude siguro itong NAIA privatization, na ipupursue din namin ito. Why are we doing this? I look at it at 2 ways. Una, you also probably understand na government funds are not that abundant. So, hindi kami, we do not enjoy the luxury na lahat ng mga gusto namin mga projects will be funded from the national budget. So we go the way of looking for private investors. And second is, it is an industry practice. Now, when you privatize airports, the level of service to passengers gumaganda. Wala nang kaduda-duda yan sa nangyari sa Cebu at sa Clark. So, increasing yung passenger experience while at the same time getting the necessary funds to upgrade and improve the airport facilities, ito na yung nakikita namin magandang paraan.
Yeah, I was going to ask nga po, with regards to Clark at saka Cebu, could you give us, data and tangible indicators na sinasabi nyo na I think a lot of people can relate if you've flown through Clark or Cebu, especially yung bagong terminal doon. Diba, people even visually they can see iba yung dating nito. But what are the tangible indicators that you can share na ito nag-improve to and you could really make comparisons with NAIA?
Ganito. Sorry, Robbie. Wala sa akin. I don't have the figures of the cuff. About last week or 2 weeks ago, the Secretary and I were at Clark. And we saw the vast potential. the terminal itself, the new terminal itself, ay actually nanalo ng award eh. Second place to an international award for the structure, yung ganda ng design. Anyway, so what we are looking at is napaganda namin yon, then hindi pa naman maximize. Then we, from experience na lang of those who had flown at Clark, makikita yung potential. And what Secretary Bautista saw is that Clark can be a transshipment hub from abroad, ibabagsak sa Clark yung mga bound for Central and Northern Luzon, and then kukuha ng cargo bound for other Southeast Asian countries or Asian countries. It can be a transshipment hub. Why that position? Because there are other transport projects that use Clark as yun yung parang base. Example, the North-South Commuter Railway starts at Clark, ends at Calamba. And did you know that from Clark, that railway has in the pipeline, it will go upwards to Ilocos, and then it will go eastward to Nueva Ecija, to Cagayan. And then there is this short railway, freight railway from Clark to Subic. Marami pa kaming mga projects that emanates from Clark, and it is a very good point origin para sa movement of people, movement of cargo. And I will say, hindi ko na kailangan siguro sabihin, highly developed na ang Cebu. It does not just connect points in Visayas. It has a lot of international flights. At highly developed na ang Cebu, Mactan Cebu Airport.
Well, sir, of course, we do understand that it's too early to expect you guys to come up with any number at this point kasi masyado pa nga namang maga. Pero I'm wondering lang if the public should expect kahit paano a sizable increase in fees. If only because of this. Number one, you expect concessionaires or you expect investors to come in, improve, therefore spend a lot of money. Number two, hope for, at the very least, hope for a break-even. Number three, of course, get a return on investment. So, di ba, it's going to be, of course, more expensive this way. Should the public expect a sizable increase in fees? For example, what do we see in Clark? Ano nangyari po sa Clark? Diba, that was privatized. Was there also an increase in the fees?
Wala akong nalalaman na increase ng fees, ano. But I don't think we are in the right position to answer the question as to fees. Again, babalik na, that will be a question for the concessionaires dahil sila magko-consider ang kanilang ROI on the amount of investments that they will provide, they will pour in sa mga gusto nilang baguhin, i-upgrade dyan sa airport. Ang nakikita namin is focus more on ano yung hihingin, i-expect ng DOTR, ng pamahalaan as to how to make the passenger experience in the privatized airports better.
Okay, actually, Mr. Gismundo, yun yung tanong ko kanina. Not so much about the beauty of the terminals, but at the end of the day, yung passenger experience, whether going in and out. Ako, I've flown through Mactan, but I was just a domestic passenger, so I have no idea, for example, on the international experience. Are we saying, for example, if you take a private concessionaire-run airport in Mactan versus the current setup in NAIA, are we saying that the Cebuanos and people flying out of the country from Cebu, do they check in faster? Do they get through immigration faster compared to yung mga nandito sa Metro Manila? That's what I'm asking in terms of what are the indicators so far of how a privately run airport in the Philippines compares to NAIA?
Nung pumunta nga kami recently sa Clark, yes, I can see from what I have observed, yes, there is a better, faster movement of passengers through the Clark Airport. Medyo matagal-tagal na ako muling pumasok sa Mactan Cebu Airport. Pero yun yung aming inaasahan. That is where the focus is. Nasaan ang mga pwedeng pagandahin doon sa dadaanan ng mga pasahero. One point in case is, sinabi rin dito ni Yusek Pabilib, we want to use more yung self-check-in para mga pasaherong kukunti lang ang bagahe, walang bagahe, may self-check-in, hindi ka na pupunta doon sa mga check-in counters. That, meron kang kailangang investment doon sa gagamitin mong mga kiosks na yan. So, isa lang yan. Pagandahin mo yung experience, pagpasok mo, mabilis sila makakapunta doon sa mga gates, palawakin yung airports, etc. Yun yung dapat nakikita at asahan namin sa DOTR kung ano ang dapat gawin ng mga concessionaires na yan.
Well, kasi, sir, I mean, Clark, I can imagine that it's much better for the simple reason that there are far fewer flights there. But when you're talking about NAIA, I mean, we all know talagang grabe, especially on those hours of the day or days of the week where all of the airlines are practically sabay-sabay, they all fly in together or fly out at the same time. So I know that there's a lot of work to be done, but my last question would be, when will we expect this newly run or new management of the NAIA to kick in and for us to actually experience the wonderful travel experience that we expect to have? Kailan po ba yan? Are we talking about 2025 perhaps or much later?
Ganito muna, Lucia. Bigyan muna kita ng, again, a perspective. Bakit namin ginawa ito? Bakit namin na-push itong privatization? Una, yun na nga, yung highly congested na iya. And then, kailangan na ma-decongest natin yan. We will further improve, maximize Clark, and then, idikit mo pa yan doon sa ginagawang Bulacan Airport. Okay? So, when all of these three airports napagana na natin, napakaganda ng coordination, complementation ng tatlong airports.
Yes. Kailan po yun, sir? Kailan po yun? Yun lang naman ang tinatanong ng lahat. Kailan po kaya mararamdaman yun?
Boy, medyo konting hintay lang. Yung NAIA, okay, so next week magkakaroon na ng meeting ang DOTR at saka ang NEDA. And ang si Yusek Pabilib, ang kanyang projection is that by first quarter next year, we might be able to award or to select the winning bidder, and then magsisimula na siya. Or if all of the processes ay walang hitches, then Yusek Lim sees na by first quarter of next year
bagong management na. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sana nga.
Susubaybayan natin yan.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people are interested, maybe even excited.
Yeah.
Diba? Have
Looking
hope.
forward to that. Yeah.
Mr. Johnny Gusmundo, Executive Assistant po to Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Salamat po,
Thank you, sir.
And that is all we have for the Chiefs. We hope it was discussed. We'll keep the conversation going. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.